Hi again. Since 2007, my regular everyday carry flashlight has been the Fenix L2D, and it goes at 175 lumens and it cost me £32 back then. And just after Christmas it became faulty and stopped working altogether. I think the switch finally gave way. Coincidentally, at the same time, I'd been alerted to a new flashlight on the market from Nitecore, the EDC 33, and looking at the specs on paper, it seemed ideal for my needs. So, needing a replacement, I ordered one from the UK dealer. It arrived very quickly, and this review is going to enumerate the features of that flashlight in detail. But before we get into that, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the evolution of certain aspects of flashlight design which have become important. Back in the Dark Ages, literally, the flashlights were very fragile and very dim. Then along came the companies such as Streamlight and Maglite, who produced the large aircraft aluminium bodied lights with D or C cell batteries inside. These were large items, they threw a decent beam, and they were far more sturdy than previous. Moving on, then the market developed the compact flashlight, where you had high levels of power but in a much smaller package. This is typified by Surefire's 6P, for example. Great flashlight, and took the community by storm. The thing about it was, though, you only had one power level. It was either off or on and fully bright, and for some occasions and some applications it was too bright. For example, if you're trying to peer through the crack of a door to see if anyone's on the other side, or if you're searching between a wall and a cupboard looking for lost items, there can be splashback which obscures what you're trying to look for. So we suggested that you carry a second flashlight, a much dimmer one, which you can use for these kind of tasks and other routine tasks such as writing in dim conditions and so on. So that's what we used to do for quite a few years. Then designs evolved to the point where we were offered multi-power levels, and these are accessed either by twisting the head of the light or by various combination of pressel pushers, or by multiple pressel switches on the end cap. So you then had the choice of power settings, which advanced the concept quite a bit. So you didn't really have to carry a second flashlight. And the flashlight we're going to discuss, the Nitecore, does have these multiple power levels, but it's offered in a very user-friendly manner. Some of the methods of cycling through the power levels really make it complicated for use in any kind of stress situation. Some of these flashlights, including the Nitecore, have been termed tactical lights. And I've got a question that for a lot of applications, a lot of tactical situations, white light is actually a big no-no. So I do prefer the term everyday carry, and that's the term used by Nitecore for the model of this flashlight, the EDC 33, and I think it's a better, much more descriptive term. So let's have a look at my new flashlight. The package arrives with several components. You have the flashlight itself, you have a charging cable, you have a lanyard, and you have an instruction manual. The flashlight is high-grade aluminium, and it's been anodized for the finish. In the hand, it seems very robust and sturdy. It's by no means a flimsy item. The charging cable is a USB-C, which is fortunate because that is the same charger that my Samsung phone uses. So I've always got one of those cables with me anyway, so that's fortunate. The charger port is covered by a rotating metal sleeve, and it takes a fair amount of force to turn it because it's supposed to be waterproof to cover this port, so that's a plus. There's very little risk of moisture getting in there. So you twist the cap and the port is exposed. Charging is to a dedicated sealed battery unit, and there's no way of unscrewing the flashlight for access to change a battery because that doesn't happen. It's a completely dedicated specific unit. This means that there's even more waterproofing to the item than normal. Normally you have removable caps with O-rings. This is a completely sealed unit. Some people don't like the idea of the dedicated battery. To me, it's not that much of a problem. It's rechargeable, so there we go. Another really interesting feature is the lock. It's a sliding kind of safety catch which locks the flashlight so that it can't be inadvertently activated while in your pocket or your waistband, etc. I think it's a great idea. There are many options with this. You can, if you're holding the pressel and you operate the lock, it goes into sort of half lock mode, and there's various features you can access with that. At the moment, I haven't really had the need to seek this out, but the lock itself is a much appreciated feature, particularly when the flashlight does become quite hot when used on the higher levels, and you wouldn't want that suddenly turning on inside your waistband. The clip is very, very strong. It grips very tightly, so little fear of losing the flashlight once it's been clipped to pocket or waistband. It's a really good item. It's far superior to many of the clips you find on folding knives, for example. And there is a lanyard that you can attach to this clip, and you have a couple of high tensile filaments which allow you to thread the lanyard through and then loop it into a knot. Once it's on, it's going to stay on, You're not going to be taking it on and off. Attached to the lanyard is a carabiner D-ring, small. The idea of the lanyard, there's a couple of things it's good for, but the obvious one is accessing the flashlight. You grab the lanyard and pull the flashlight from pocket, waistband or pouch. It's a neat little item, but there is another use for it that we will talk about just now. Let me just check my notes here for whatever. Okay, so excuse me, the flashlight has 6 power levels. As I mentioned in the earlier piece, the idea of having multiple power levels can be useful. This one's got 6. The lowest power level they call moon glow and is 5 lumens, and the highest power level is what they call the lumen shield, which is 4,000, massive 4,000 lumens. Then you have the ones in between. Now for me, I would really concentrate on 3 of the power settings. The moon glow, which gives you 63 hours of runtime on a very low output, but it's enough to do vital tasks. And this level has been suggested if you're in things like disaster or wilderness situations. Now, on the Combatives community forum, Marcus started a topic after the 7/7 bombings, London bombings readiness gear, making suggestions of what to have with you in anticipation of that kind of thing. And similarly then when we had the Paris attacks, it was a very relevant topic, and we talked about it quite a bit. But one of the things was a long runtime flashlight, and on the moon glow setting this fits the bill. Then another setting is high. This is the 4th setting, and it's the one that I would use for most sort of tasks where you need a decent amount of brilliance, but you don't want to use the higher setting, which tends to heat up the flashlight, as I'll explain. This gives you 1200 lumens and a runtime of 2.5 hours. Then you have the maximum, the lumen shield, 4,000. It's only supposed to be used for maximum about 20 seconds, and in its really designed application, that's all you need. As I say, it is very, very bright, and really is one of the main features of this flashlight, is this amount of light it puts out. So there's the levels. As I say, 3 of them are most applicable for what I use. The various levels are accessed by either a half or a full press of the Pressel switch, the rubber covered end cap switch. So let's now go on and look at how we can carry the EDC 33. Okay, so we've looked at the features. Oh, and by the way, I'll put the specification sheet at the end of the review, so you can browse that and compare it to other flashlights that you may either possess or be thinking of buying. So ways of carrying the EDC 33, and the clip, which I've mentioned is very strong, is the obvious way of carrying it. And one method is just to simply clip the flashlight into your front trouser pocket. I prefer the front pocket rather than the rear, because then you're not sitting on the light. And it's also accessible at the front. The flashlight's compact enough for it to be carried comfortably within this pocket. And as I mentioned, the clip grips very, very well. It's, even if you're running and doing quite athletic activity, you're not going to lose the flashlight. And then the lanyard can be used to fish out the light from the pocket. So that's a good option. It's an option too if you're wearing something like sweatpants or tracksuit bottoms, something like that, where you don't have a belt. Which brings us on to the waistband carry, which is the method I tend to use most of the time. And here the light is clipped to the fabric of the trousers, with the body of the light inside the waistband and the clip outside but behind the belt. And then you tuck the lanyard in so it doesn't catch on anything, and I have it in the opposite to the appendix position on my left, which is kind of a cross draw position, and you can just forget about it. It's there when you need it, but doesn't get in the way of anything. It's very discreet and just blends in. So I find that a useful option. Then when traveling, particularly when flying, I use the Galco belt pack, and I've for a long time, in one of the side pouches of it, I've carried my Surefire E2E. It fits in there very well. It would not take the 6P, and that was a thing I brought up with Galco at a training event, a training conference in the United States, that if they'd lengthen that pouch a little bit, redesigned it, you could take the flashlight that most of us were carrying, but they just said, well, we think we've done the perfect job, more or less. So the more compact flashlights such as the E2E fit in there, and the EDC 33 fits in there very, very well. So for traveling by air, flashlight doesn't cause any concerns with security, unless it's a weaponized model with a strike bezel or something like that, which I don't really recommend. Then it's no problem, and you've always got it with you. Then we have a pouch or holster. Now, when the flashlight arrived, I looked into my kit box of old bits and pieces, and there's several pouches in there from previous use, and there was one that would actually fit this flashlight. But I noticed on Nitecore UK site they were offering NTH10 polymer pouch, sort of Kydex, and it's designed for this family of flashlights. I sent for one, it arrived virtually the next day, I think, and it works a treat, and it's what I have chosen for my duty belt, and that's how the EDC 33 will be carried, and has been carried for the past couple of weeks. So it fits very, very well. It snaps into place, and again, you're not going to lose the light. and it's a good complement to the flashlight itself, and I recommend it. Most people could use it for routine carry, but I do prefer the internal fit inside the waistband for routine daily carry, but the pouch is useful when I've got other stuff on the belt as well. So they're the main methods that I would suggest. Another consideration is, particularly when overseas, is what we call bedside kit. So at night, you've got stuff next to the bed in case you need it in the night. Now, this may sound dramatic, but staying in Joburg, the bedroom I've used for many times was the scene of an armed attack where Clint was shot. So it's not a fanciful notion, it's something that you should be aware of. So amongst the bedside kit, obviously the flashlight is something that's a necessity for nighttime use. And one of the things that I find useful is one of these glow tags. They glow in the dark, and I clip it to the D-ring of the lanyard, and then it acts as kind of a landing light, to use Masad Ayoub's term, guide your hand to the flashlight in the dark. You can get them from Amazon. I have them tagged onto my first aid pack and things like that, stuff you need to locate in the dark. Handy bit of kit. It's light emitting. You don't need to pre-illuminate it yourself, and it's a good bit of kit. And for that particular situation, I would recommend it. So now we come to self-protection, and this is usually thought of as using the flashlight as an impact weapon. And when we were using mag lights and streamlights, that was a very viable option. Very strong aircraft aluminium body with 4 large heavy batteries inside produced a hell of a lot of impact, and it was in fact my favorite impact weapon. I think it's better than any of the saps or blackjacks, or even expandable batons. There were liability concerns with some of the police departments. One instructor told me that their department used to pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars, about $300,000 per case, from anybody rendered incapacitated by a hit on the head with a mag light. And he really welcomed the development of the compact flashlights for that reason. Anyway, some people still promote the idea of striking with the flashlight in hand, rather like a Yawara or Conga. I don't really go along with it. I prefer to use combative hand strikes without needing the flashlight to aid that. That's why I don't like things like strike bezels and so on. I prefer the flashlight, the compact flashlight, for its intended purpose. But there is a very significant self-protection aspect to the compact flashlight, and that comes from the dark lantern technique. This was used in the Renaissance era in Europe, and in the dimly lit towns and cities where there was really only moonlight, which could be obscured by clouds. So making your way through these dark streets where danger would lurk, a gentleman would carry a special lantern which had a shutter shielding the candle within, operated by a trigger. And if danger loomed out of the shadows, he would present the flashlight, operate the trigger, and the candle would flare into the would-be assailant's eyes, robbing him of his night vision. And even a candle would be effective against the dark adapted eye. This then gives the good guy a chance to move, to draw his sword, to make a getaway, or to fight. And it's been updated with the compact flashlight, and the concept is, if you're moving through a potentially hazardous area, it might be you're returning to your car at night in a car park, work environment, any place where you have to move through any kind of urban area or rural area, in any kind of adverse light situations, then the advice is to have your flashlight in your hand. And then if you're approached by anybody, you can illuminate them, and if they're innocent and just come to ask you something, there's no harm, no foul. You just lit them up, and you can apologise, oh, you startled me, and so on. Kelly McCann teaches that verbalisation. But if it's a miscreant, then he's going to be distracted. The brilliant beam of the modern flashlights into the eyes, which are directly part of the central nervous system, will rob him of his night vision, cause him to turn away, giving you the momentum to maneuver behind a curtain of light. He can't see what you're doing, access a weapon, make an escape. So it's a very, very useful tool for that reason. And it's a tactic, the idea of having the light in your hand. But to be able to still use the hand for things like opening doors, moving people, or whatever you need to do, doing a magazine change or anything, the light needs to be attached to the hand. And the Surefire 6P came with a lanyard, which was elasticated shock cord, and it was attached to the butt end of the flashlight, and then you looped it over the back of your hand over the lens end, and it would attach the light to your hand. Similarly, Quark do the rubber hand grip that attaches to both sides, and you have your hand thus attached to the flashlight. Matt Graham developed the combat rings marketed by Surefire. Very, very good. I've got them on a couple of my lights. They work ideally. For this particular light, because the lanyard is paracord, there's no stretch in it, but what I've done is I've added an O-ring, a sturdy O-ring, heavy gauge. You just put it over a couple of your fingers of your hand to make a grip, and over the end cap, and the light is thus attached to the hand. You can use it, you can use the hand for gripping, for moving, whatever. So very, very easy solution to it. Now there is a specific ring marketed by Nitecore, the NTR10 I think it is, and I've got one. It does fit this flashlight, but I don't need it because of the setup I've got, but it's a nice piece of kit, and I'll put a link to it. So we'll go on to a very specific aspect of using the flashlight in a tactical or self-protection situation. So we've looked at the dark lantern technique, Now, a large component of the attraction of the flashlights was to the firearms community, to use it for flashlight index shooting. And I did an article on the forum a while back called The Shoot Light, where I put my thoughts on the features needed on a shoot light. And basically, what you need is the ability to access the highest level of brilliance immediately. So that should be the default setting almost, and then everything else should be additional. That's why sometimes the split switch can be an option, but it's not that well designed for use under stress. You know, as we know, stress affects fine motor coordination, particularly in the fingers. So what we want is a very, very simple, user-friendly approach. And I was delighted to find that the EDC 33 has this. So even though we have 6 power levels, if you just simply hit the switch full, just give it a big push, you go into the maximum, the lumen shield. And this is really, really useful. It's the feature that really makes this flashlight the all-round choice for my needs now, that it does everything I need. We've got the low settings, we've got the lock, it's rechargeable, but also in a shoot light situation, when we're doing adverse light shooting courses and this kind of thing, whether the flashlight's in your hand and you might be using a lower level, and then you see a threat, you just bang the Pressel and it'll go to full lume. Or if you've accessed it from off and you come up, again, just a major press right through, just press hard, which is what we want to do. The hand wants to grip like that under stress anyway. So it's a very, very useful feature, and it really does help the EDC 33 become the only flashlight you need, and I'm very happy to endorse it from that point of view. I was amazed at how much they have packed in to this very compact package. It's well designed, it's contoured for the hand. There are spirals cut into the body which enhance the grip. It feels good in the hand. It's got its dedicated pouch. The lanyard works. What more can I say? I'm very, very happy to recommend this to anyone, and never really dealt with Nitecore before. I've got no relationship with them. Just speak as I find, and I find them very, very professional to deal with. So I'll put the links there. And this is my new everyday carry flashlight, and I just hope that it serves me as long as my old Phoenix, which is now retired, did.